felt it necessary because you start thinking, like, when you're doing these things, you think, well, this is no job for an adult. I think I need to work hard. And so I kind of dropped out and bought a cattle ranch. It's backbreaking. It's never ending. After about 2 years, I said, I need to go back to the other job. You have to have other people realize they're good. Just because I know they're good doesn't mean they are. Or they might be, but it's hard for other people to see it.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome on stage legendary actor, writer, producer, director, the one, the only, Mel Gibson!
Yeah, I mean, what an entrance and reaction that was. And to be honest, I didn't expect anything less because we've just, as you know, Mel, we've been trying to get this event on for 3 years. And we are now here today. I just can't wait to have a chat with you, to be honest. So how does it feel to be back in Scotland after 28 years?
Yeah, it's been 28. Wow. It's amazing. I think things have changed. Thank you. I love you. If I could only see you. It's really bright. Wow. It's just like faces, like voices coming out of the dark. It's a Night of the Living Dead, but I'll just pretend I'm all alone. I'm great. It's great to be back. In fact, I've been eating my way across Europe. I put on like 20 pounds. I'm like, oh God, I gotta be back in the gym, you know? Maybe run up one of those mountains or something. But the change, I think, happened in a restaurant the other night. I actually had haggis curry. Anyone had this? You've all had it, okay. You haven't.
Yeah, I love it. I love it, Mel. Right, so obviously you've just come from Hungary, haven't you? So, I mean, would you want to just shed a little light what you've been doing there? And
well, Hungary is, they make a lot of films there now. I guess it's cost effective, but they've been doing prequels to, there's a bunch of things like John Wick or something. There's the prequels to those, and it's called the Hotel Continental. It's like, so they made 3 films, bang, 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 so I've been gainfully employed.
Is that finished now then? Is the filming finished for that? Is it complete?
That's all done, yeah.
And when's that going to be released?
Oh, yeah.
Don't know.
No idea. Yeah, like next year.
I just wanted to ask you as well, obviously, we've just briefed on that, coming to Scotland and stuff. Do you ever get nervous for stuff like this? Do you know, like, when you've just come on stage then where you're like, do you get nervous or you're not that bothered?
Well, I'm actually, by nature, I'm an introvert.
Right.
So it is odd. It is odd for me, but you know, you get used to it. I mean, I haven't died yet, so I'm fine.
And I mean, this is only your second event to do something like this. So what does it feel like to, just see with your own eyes your fans? I mean, these people here that have come from all over the world. You know.
Okay. Right. Right, it's blinding up there, yeah. Wow. It's a good-looking crowd, too.
I take it feels good, though, to get that love and, look at the door, yeah.
Oh, it is. It's phenomenal, you know, and I thank you for it. I mean, if it wasn't for you folks, I wouldn't have a living. So, great. I thank you. Thanks for coming. I hope I don't bore the pants off you. Some of you don't have pants on. What? I'm talking about the guys. But
so, you're born 1956 in Peekskill, New York.
Peekskill, yeah.
Peekskill, sorry. One of 11 children. Yeah. I mean, That's crazy. What was that like, the household? I mean, was it
Well,
biz?
it's always difficult for the middle child, and I was the middle child. I was number 6.
Wow.
So there you go.
And it's
And it was great. It's great. It's like growing up in a crowd. It's like being an extra. It's like you have to just, find your time and your space, get in front of the camera, make yourself heard,
So what was it like in New York at that time? Let's go from the ages of, maybe 4 or 5 years of age till 12 when I know you moved to Australia. But what was it like growing up there? Was it?
Well, it's upstate New York. It wasn't in the city. It was out in the country. It snowed. You had 4 months of tundra, But it was fun as a kid. I mean, I didn't know anything else, and I had a wonderful time. But, eventually, my dad decided, because his mother came from Australia. She was an opera singer, and she'd married a businessman in Chicago, and he decided to emigrate with his whole family there in 1968. So, a big change of scenery. But culturally, not so much. Australia's not too far from the culture I came from.
So 12 years of age, it's quite a significant age where, my daughter's 11 in August, and it's quite a time when, your pre-teenage years, and, it can be a lot of hormones going on and stuff. So you've uprooted to go to live in Australia. I mean, what was that like? Did you find it stressful, or was it exciting?
Well, I think anything like that, like a big move or a big shift and a cultural shift, at that age, it's going to have a profound effect on you. So, but, I managed to weather the storm all right, like most people. You got to grow up, And, but I found a home there, and I really loved it. It was a wonderful place to grow up, Australia. I don't know if anyone ever been there. It's Sydney, It's great. So, and I made lifelong friends. I still have them, and I'm blessed to have been raised there. I think it was a good place to live and grow up.
So, you've landed in Australia. You've settled in, like you said there. And were there any early indications throughout your childhood and when you moved to Australia of your acting skills? Did your mom used to say, he's going to be an actor, or were you flamboyant, or was it just a case of it developed later in your teenage years?
Well, no, I always got a lot of jollies from creating illusions. I would actually go to a great deal of trouble to perform a practical joke or to make it appear as if something that wasn't happening was. And I guess that sort of marries itself into performance at some stage because you have to pretend. So, it was a good pastime. I didn't necessarily think it was going to go anywhere. I thought it was just playing silly buggers, but I guess it paid off. And my dad said when I was in school, he said, everybody likes a clown, but nobody pays him. And because I wasn't doing that great at school, I was an average student, but when I kind of struck it rich, I said, see, they do pay the clown. He agreed sometimes, yeah.
So, again, around that time, what gave you your inspiration from that age? Did you like, we've had Arnold here and Sylvester Stallone, and, Arnold's, I think, was Clint Eastwood, and, he had Reg Park, put him on his wall and said, I'm going to be like him. Did you have someone like that that you aspired to be an actor or something like that? Did you look at it and think, I want to be an actor, or I want to be a director? No, I didn't want to do that. It wasn't something I thought about. It really wasn't. And it was, I think, what happens is if you come from one culture and you go to another, it makes you an observer. Because you have to juxtapose yourself and your own existence in another place and time with different people and measure the differences. Oh, I forgot my rabbits. Oh, thanks, man. Thank you. Where have they come from? Are they yours, Mel?
I have a young son, and he left rabbits. He left his rabbits in Budapest, and so I got the rabbits. So I got to bring the rabbits, and
that's amazing.
They got to come everywhere.
So You've got a son, 4-year-old, is that correct? Is he 4?
He's 28, but he loves it. It's Arrested Development, I think. No, he's just turned 5, and he's still living in fantasy world, so it's fantastic, you know. And he looks like a little Viking, you know. In fact, people call him Vikingo, but I call him Lars. But that's his real name, Lars. He looks like a guy named Lars. I'm trying to figure out which one of the Hemsworths fathered him. He looks like little Thor running around. But his rabbits have been on a big tour now, because every day I make a little video. I had to stop Biggie. This is Biggie, and this is Wiggles. And now Biggie was on the 5th story on the balcony trying to jump, and I had to assure him that he'd see Lars soon, and I had to talk him off the ledge. It was pretty. Lars finds the videos very funny. He's a twisted little boy.
It totally shocked me as that.
Oh no, he's developed a drinking problem while he's in Scotland. And this one's walking around on eggshells. He's all traumatized. He wants him to get help. We're gonna have an intervention tomorrow on the jet home. So funny. Whoop, sit up there.
Right, Mel. Obviously, we've only got a certain amount of time. We've got so many questions, so I'm just trying to go through and just grace some things. So, leading up to your big, well, it wasn't big in your eyes at the time, the Mad Max audition that you went to, but you were just supporting a friend, is that right?
Yeah, I went there to help a friend out. I dropped him off. But, and I was driving his car, and he just wanted me to drop him off so he could run in, and I'd go. But I was waiting for him, and like about 3 days before, I got into a fight with an entire rugby team, and I didn't win. And I looked like hell. Everything was all banged up. I looked like, and the girl at the desk said, "Who are you?" And I said, "Oh, I'm just dropping him off." And she said, "Well, we need freaks in this movie." And I said, "Well," and there you go. And they took a Polaroid of me, and of course I had a head like a busted grapefruit, but they stuck it up on the bulletin board, and she said, "Well, come back when you heal up." And I came back like a couple of weeks later and said, "Hello," and they said, "Who are you?" And I pointed to the picture, and they went, "Oh." I said, "Go on in." And I got the gig, right like that. It was really interesting. I told him a joke, and he said, "You got the job. Can you drive?" I said, "Yep." Not well, but...
So how old were you then?
20, 21. Yeah.
Was that a divine moment for you, though? Were you like, "This is it, I've made it," when they actually cast you for that?
No, I didn't know what I was doing. No one knew. I was trained for, live theater. So the world of film was something I knew very little about. But I thought it was a pretty good adventure. So I thought, I'll go along for the ride. I didn't know where it would lead.
So did you go home to your mum and dad and go, "Look, Mad Max, this is how big it's going to be"? Or was it a case of you didn't know how big it was going to be at that time?
Nobody knew. It was a guy, he was a doctor from Melbourne, and his brother, and the guy who used to drive the ambulance for him when they'd scrape up roadkill. And these guys were making their first feature film, and no one knew, not even them. But they did have George and Byron and all that whole crew. They had a feel. They kind of knew what they were doing. They were fledgling, but they were good.
Fascinates me, it really does. So, leading up, again, I'll go back a little bit prior to the Mad Max. How many jobs did you do? Because I know you, throughout your teenage years, it were a bit like student-ish. You mentioned in London where you were 6 years in a house or something. And
student living, yeah. I remember watching this film. It's one of my favorite films because I laughed so hard because it reminded me of my days at drama school. It was this film called With Nail and I. Did you ever see that one? So funny. And the guy that lived in the house with me looked exactly, but I mean exactly like Paul McGann. And his name was Jeremy Connolly, and he looked like this guy. And it was it was the kind of thing where you'd come home and there'd be a 6-foot cockroach, eating your sandwich or something. It was crazy. It was, you'd wake up the place was a hovel and no heating. And it was like, and we were living on, the last part of the month on porridge. That's all you ate, porridge, just to fill up, But it was an existence.
So at that time, did you think Summit Big's coming, or was Mad Max just a total surprise to you?
Well, it was right at the end of 3 years of training at this place, and I got the gig straight off. But I had plenty of jobs during the summer and before that. I worked in window factories and orange juice factories, and kind of work that you could get easily that nobody else wanted. That's why it was so easy to get. And it was like mind-numbing, just the repetition and stuff. But and it motivated me to do really well at school.
I asked Sylvester, we had an interview with Sylvester in Florida, I asked him that same question, and he's done some crazy jobs.
Oh, yeah.
Lion cage or something he cleaned out and stuff.
Lion cages.
He said that lion urine is the worst thing he's ever had in his life or something.
Oh, yeah. Well, you know what you do if a lion attacks you, you know how to best make him go away. You throw shit at him. And there's going to be plenty.
So, Mad Max is a massive success. Did you enjoy it? Did you enjoy how things were starting to, like you were becoming known, and did you enjoy that? Or
I
was
did.
It
when you're young, you kind of you really the novelty of all that and that ride that you're on is pretty exciting. You don't know where it's going to go. It's an adventure, and you got nothing to measure it against. So it's really just kind of like stepping out blind. But there's a kind of a crazy freedom in that. And so I did enjoy it. Yeah. And they weren't even paying me, and I still enjoyed it.
You mentioned in London, because obviously the Mad Max took off. You becoming a name, and at last all your hard work's coming to fruition. You took a 2-year break. You bought a farm. Is that correct? Can you tell me a little bit more about that time?
Yeah, it was. I felt it necessary because you start thinking like, when you're doing these things, you think, well, this is no job for an adult. I think I need to work hard, and so I kind of dropped out and bought a cattle ranch, and then I kind of worked it for a while and learned how to work it and did all that. And it's backbreaking. It's never ending. And after about 2 years, I said, I need to go back to the other job. But I developed a love for it, of like raising, growing vegetables and, eating organic vegetables and killing your own meat and stuff like that.
So during that time, were you thinking a lot, like thinking what's my next move, and did you have any ideas for films during that time or anything that came to fruition later on down the line?
Of course, your imagination's always whirling around in the background someplace, even if you're not conscious of it. I become aware, oddly, that there's this kind of subconscious realm that a lot of us operate in. And every now and then it makes itself very evident. But, because it's subconscious, it's not front and center all the time. It just pops out when it needs to, which can be very surprising and pretty fun when it takes the front row.
I do it every Sunday. I cut my grass, and I think of ideas.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? It's like...
Yeah, there's something about
I relate to that.
Repetition, or just going for a walk or a run or something. Yeah.
Right, so you came back from your 2-year break, and this is where it got a little bit interesting, because Lethal Weapon arose, the script. Is that correct?
Yeah, it was. I thought it was an interesting script, and now it's kind of, it's like a trope or a cliche, because it's, the buddy cop movie with the, and at the time, they had things like it, but they didn't have, they usually had that two-dimensional kind of like, like Sly and Arnold used to do, like with Commando, or with, Sly doing, you're the disease and I'm the cure, where he's doing that stuff, So, which was good stuff, but those guys they were kind of not vulnerable at all. So when I saw the Lethal script, and I thought, well, the guy's crazy and he wants to kill himself, and he is that guy, that's way more interesting, So I sort of jumped on that.
Was it another Mad Max as well, where you didn't even know it were going to be big, or did you have a better feeling it was going to be a success?
No, I had a feeling it could work because it was just a little off. And I think it was at the right time. People were ready for the two-dimensional hero to have some kind of flaw, you know.
I mean, that catapulted you into just craziness after that, didn't it, literally? So how did you cope with that? Did you still enjoy it, or was it getting a little bit like, you know?
No, I'd taken the 2 years off before to sort of kind of readjust to the idea that you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube,
Yeah.
which is, it's you know, to lose your personal anonymity and never have any, you know, it's an interesting thing that happens. And at first you're bitter about it, but then you say, well, hang on, I'm doing all right, you know, what am I bitter about? And then you cope with it, and you sort of deal with it. And so by that time, it wasn't the same kind of thing. I approached it in a very different way, in a more mature way, I'd say.
Icon Productions, how did you start that?
It was an idea to just kind of be a part of the whole thing, you know. I wanted to understand the process because from the very first time that I was sitting around film sets, I'd stay around the hub and ask people questions. You know, I'd ask the cameraman what he was doing. I'd ask the lighting guy what he did. I just was like, you know, I was probably annoying to them, but I wasn't the kind of guy that vanished into the trailer. I used to hang around and try and figure out what they were doing. And so that it was, you know, natural enough, I think, to kind of want to get into production to understand the entire process, from the funding of a project, for the writing of it, to producing it, to directing, to, you know, the whole piece. So, and also I think I'm a megalomaniac.
And the reason I've mentioned that is because obviously that led into you know, thinking of directing and getting into that area, and you came with Man Without a Face. So what was that like to go from acting to actually directing?
Well, it was terrifying because every time you sort of venture into and you step up to the plate, you know, there's a lot of trepidation. But that's okay. I mean, what's the worst thing you can do? Fail, right? And maybe it did fail. I have no idea. I don't think financially it did. But I went in easy. It wasn't a huge budget. It was a little story. It was, you know, just getting your feet wet. So I put a toe in the water with that. And I made a lot of mistakes. But at the end of the day, it came out. It was okay. And then it sort of got me ready to do something big, you know. So then I figured I'd go for the whole, you know, I go for the whole enchilada after that. So.
Right, what we're going to do now is I want the production, if you can hear me, can you play the clips of Mel's powerful acting? After that, we're going to go into a very special story that was based in Scotland, which you're all going to be happy with. So can we play that on the screens, please? I just want to get across how good of an actor Mel is.
Well, sometimes, Matt, may I call you Matt?
Yeah, sure.
Sometimes a single inspiration just comes to you in the middle of the night.
I am not wasting one more minute of my life on prayer. Not one more minute.
I'm sorry about Thomas.
Stay here. Don't leave me stay here, please.
I'll never forgive myself.
For what, sir?
That my man died and I didn't.
Come and sit you down. You shall not budge.
I don't get my son back, and I mean real soon, you better kill yourself. Because when I catch up with you, I'm gonna take my goddamn time.
I lost you.
Dad, look at me, look at me. You did not lose me.
We reach a point where in order to go on, we have to wipe the slate clean.
Now we are going to enjoy this meal. No one can stop us from enjoying this meal, so enjoy it!
When she moved out here, she said it reminded her of Paris in the 20s, you know, because we got a very traditional home in Boston. Maybe it wasn't what she wanted out of life, you know?
are a good girl. Sure are. Geez, I'm dehydrated after that.
Do you know when you watch that though? What does it bring all the memories flooding back?
Well, that, yeah,
Just
I just
from
remember that, there was a technique I learned from Jeffrey Rush, and it was like, when you have to cry, you just pull a hair out of your nose. It's good. It works. Try it on your wife sometime. You get any sympathy.
Right, let's get on to Braveheart then. Right, Mel, tell us exactly how did the script come in your life? Can you remember exactly where you were when eventually you've read the script for the first time?
A fellow named Randall Wallace gave it to me, and he was a guy. He was a TV writer and director, a fellow from Tennessee, and he'd taken the time to go and write this. He tracked it down as best he could because the history is kind of scant, but there's enough. And he gave me the script, and I read it, and I liked it, but I didn't do it right away. I just, I didn't accept it. He said, "You want to do this?" And I was like, "Nah." And it was a couple of years later but I kept remembering it, and I started to subconsciously, here's the subconscious, construct shot lists for it, what would that look like? What would it look like to see horses on skewers, things like that. So, so gradually, I said to a friend of mine, I read this script a while back, and I explained it, and I told him the story of it before he read it, but I explained it in a very graphic way with shots and shot lists and what it looked like, and then what happened, and this happened. And he said he read the script, and he said, "Yeah, it's kind of like that, but it's not how you explained it." And I thought, oh, that's interesting, and I read it again, and indeed I had been cooking subconsciously and making images in my head, so I figured I wanted to direct it. So I went to Alan Ladd Jr., and that was the second film I directed. It was like, and that was chewing off a big piece, but it was, and I said, and anyone who knows Alan Ladd Jr., he's passed away, God bless him, he was a good guy, Laddie, and he was Alan Ladd, the actor's son, you remember Alan Ladd, and the thing with Laddie is you could never understand what he was saying because he kind of mumbled. And then, so one of my favorite quotes, I used to get a laugh out of it, and I know Alan will forgive me, is like, in the words of Alan Ladd Jr., but I said to him, "I'd like to direct this film," and he said, "I don't know that." And I said, "Oh, good." And so we got it together in short order. I think from the time I said I wanted to do it, it was like a 10-week pre-production, which is lightning, especially in the days of luxury that we don't have now. But 10 days pre-production, and it was a long shoot though. It was like 105 days. And but there was a lot of elements.
For me, Braveheart, there were just so many ingredients that made it just absolutely unbelievable. The cast, the music, the storyline, you. How did you... Scotland, yeah,
Oh, yeah.
obviously.
Oh yeah.
How... Yeah. What was the process of selecting, the cast?
Oh, that was pretty easy. These people just cast themselves, I'm serious. I don't make anybody read, I just get people in a room and talk to them. And in about 10 or 15 minutes whether you want to work with them, and they cast themselves. It was pretty easy. They were perfect, weren't they? I mean, they all of them.
Every single one.
Yeah, and even this guy. There's a band of brigands here in town called the Wallace Clan, right? And he's out there. I think I owe him money, but these guys, and they were all the guys you saw. They were the hairy, scary guys, that you saw in the film. And they were living like that. I mean, it was crazy to me. I was like, okay, you guys, you got the gig. I mean, they cast themselves, It's like, I said to this guy, Shiras, I said, Shiras, what do you actually wear under the kilt? And he said, your wife's lipstick. And I said, oh, you got the job. So he said that. And he knew I couldn't take him. So it was an experience. I think that's like one of the best experiences as a director I've had. Yeah.
Like I say, it was just a perfect storm. Sylvester, when I interviewed him, he mentioned that about Rocky as well. All the cast, he felt like God thrown him down from, that everyone fitted the part. And I think every single cast member in Braveheart was just perfection, weren't they, really, to their part. I just want to show another clip from Braveheart. So I've picked this clip out because I believe this is one of the most powerful scenes in film history, in my opinion. So I just want to understand what made you think of this clip. Yeah, let's play it. Can we play it, please?
Those kids, I mean, that little girl, I don't know. She's probably 58 years old by now, but she's 4 years old. Hey? 36. Oh, you're there? Yeah, she was so cute. And I just got her to do stuff and she was just sweet and innocent, and it was just perfect. And the boy too.
How did you think of that, to do that though?
Well,
it's
I think
just
Randall
unbelievable power in that moment, isn't
Yeah,
there?
Randall wrote in the script that she picked a flower and gave it to him, but I thought, hey, let's go full on emblematic. Oh, hey, how are you? Good. Here. I've had a microphone hernia.
I mean, like I said, that clip is just, it's one of my favorites. I'm sure the audience will agree with that.
But of course, you couldn't get a 4-year-old child to pick a real thistle because she'd have been crucified by it. But so we had to make a plastic one that wouldn't hurt her. And looks a little phony, but I don't think you're noticing at that point.
Where did the music come from? Because you used James Horner, and obviously he was made famous with Titanic a few years later. But what made you choose James Horner?
In fact, he was made famous the next year for almost the same score. But it was interesting. I'd worked with him on the first film I did, and he was just great. He was a fantastic artist. And he's gone now. He crashed in a plane. He was liked to fly, but I think that was his greatest score. I think, and he didn't get the Golden Boy for it. He got it for Titanic, but I thought that was a good score.
Right, can we show the Battle of Stirling clip, please?
The Battle of Stirling.
And then we'll have a chat after that, Mel.
Hey, let's go kill someone.
He's just an absolute genius.
Who should we kill? Everybody's got somebody. It's on somebody's list. Let's go kill Phil Jenkins.
So you got the speech from Shakespeare, is that right?
Well, actually, Randall wrote the speech,
You got the inspiration from Shakespeare,
but
didn't you?
I think he was inspired by the Henry V by Shakespeare, you know, about, you know, dying in your beds a long time from now, you know, you wish that you were there. That sentiment was in there, and of course it was in Henry V. And it's not a bad place to take it from. But the speech, Randall's a great writer, but the horse did all the acting. You know, it was really, that horse was brilliant, because he was skittish, and every time I'd yell a bit, he'd want to take off, so I had to hold on to him with everything I had, so it made it it just made it it just made the performance. The animal was amazing. And all I had to do was just, you know, let the reins go and he'd go flying, you know. Fantastic.
How many takes did it take to do that then?
Oh, that was maybe 3 takes. But because you do everyone else's stuff. I was so not indulgent. It was like you do everyone else's stuff, and then the first AD was this guy called David Tomlinson, right? And he was a big Englishman who'd been in the business for 50 years. He'd forgotten more than most of us knew. And he didn't move his neck. And he sort of said, you know, he's standing there like this. And that's exactly how he talked. And he says, I think it's time for you to get in and do your bit, don't you, sir? And you go, all right. So I just jump in and do my stuff. And then I did the speech, and I would always ask the first AD, you know, how do you think that went? And he said, Jesus, I'm British and I'd fight the English. So he was pretty funny. One of the best stories about him was that scene where they dragged poor old William into the place and everyone's throwing fruit at him and they're going to string him up, you know. And I told him to rile the crowd up to get him angry and say things, you know, like what a monster I was, so they'd all be really angry. And he always used to sort of just do this kind of like, all right, standing by, row, like this. So he just said, he stood there and they're about to drag me in and he says, all right, we're about to go, standing by. I want you to remember, he's a murderer of babies, a raper of nuns, row, like a, it's like, and it was one of the best things he ever said. A murderer of babies, a raper of nuns, row. Like, said with no emotion. One time he just pointed at the crowd, and there were a lot of people doing stuff that he didn't like, and he just pointed at the crowd and he said, you with a dodgy wig. They all had dodgy wigs, you know. It's like funny.
Funny. I mean, can you do me a Sean Connery impression? I know that's how you did your. That's how you got your Scottish twang.
Oh, yeah,
as you'd
Sean.
say.
Oh gosh. Jeez, I just remember going to dinner with him once, and he actually got pissed off at me because I didn't know how many head of cattle that I owned. Right? He says, "You're sure you so you raise cattle?" You know. He's like, oh yeah. So, how many head of cattle have you got? I don't know. He said, well, surely you must know. You know, he was really upset with me. But the best thing about the dinner is that we were at the house of Andy Vanya, who was Hungarian, and his new wife was making goulash. Now, if you haven't heard Sean Connery utter the word goulash, you've missed a great treat. It sounded something like this. He said, you know, would you like a bread roll? He said, yeah, sure. I always have bread rolls with my goulash. Yeah. So goulash. I don't know how he did it, but.
So the total length of Braveheart is 3 hours 15 minutes. You know, what were you like when you're editing the final bits of it? Were you thinking this is too long, or
It was too long.
Yeah. But were you still? I mean, I loved every minute of it. I'm sure the audience did as well. But because that's quite long for a film, were you thinking that we're a bit risque or?
Well, it was like there's an hour of that on the floor. It was 4 hours when I first slapped it together, but it ended up being 2:48, which is, and we got it. Steve Rosenblum, the editor, and I got it down to 3:15, and we were like, I don't think we can get any more out of this. And then the head of the studio at Paramount, a woman called Sherry Lansing, said, she gave us one general note, and she said, I don't know exactly how to put this, but it's like you're letting the audience get ahead of you. And we both sort of listened to that, and we thought, how did she get this job, you know? And then we slept on it, and then we woke, we slept on what she'd said, and then the next day we called each other and said, she's right, you know, because and because of that one general note, we were able to cut almost a half an hour out, which is pretty good. And it would have been, it's better without the half hour. It really is. Although, you know, there's an hour of scenes and footage and stuff that had never been screened anywhere. It'd be interesting one day to maybe try and slap it back together. Yeah.
The director's cut. We could talk about Braveheart all day. We literally could, and I wish I could. I wish I could just keep going and going. But there's so many amazing films that you've done that I really want to go on to this next one because I just think it's absolutely phenomenal. Can we play the Apocalypto clip, please? What a film.
Yeah.
I mean, just unbelievable film. How did it come about? And have you got? I mean, what jungle did you do that in? And what difficulties did you find?
That was a Mexican jungle, and it was interesting because it was just something. Somebody said, "What do you want to do?" I said, "I always wanted to do a chase film," and they said, "What kind of chase? Car chase?" I said, "Nah, a foot chase. I want to do a foot chase film, and but I want to make it look like a car chase," and so we just cooked the idea in my office. My assistant and I, we wrote the script, and then pretty soon we went to work and shot it. It was a real adventure, that one, and in some ways I think it's probably the purest of the films I've directed because there's very little dialogue in it. It's just like all about drive and image, and it's kinetic, you know. So.
The subtitles thing, did that worry you when you first did that? Because obviously there weren't many films with subtitles, but it was still unbelievably powerful even with that.
No, it didn't bother me so much because it worked so well on the Passion film, the subtitles, you know. And it didn't seem to hinder the audience, you know, the fact that it was in a language that was almost dead. And like the Mayan language, it was still alive, but not dead.
So, Passion of Christ, while we're on that, one of the biggest box office movies of all time. Again, did you think it was a bit of a risk to take it on, being so controversial? You know, I know you got a little bit of stick for it and stuff, but...
Well, it certainly touched some nerves, and I had not anticipated that. But I expected maybe a little something, but like, man, it just turned into like, wow. It was 10,000 decibels, you know, for about 10 months, you know, on the news, and it was like crazy. So, you know, I was quite gratified to see it do so well, and that, you know, it wasn't deemed to be some kind of awful thing that would issue pogroms or anything, you know, because, you know, it was well received. So I felt pretty good about that.
Have you got any updates on a potential resurrection film?
Yeah. I'm working on that. That, of course, is very difficult. That's very difficult material because you're dealing with things that are hugely supernatural, and you have to do them in a way that's understandable and that you can relate and that people can relate to in a way that doesn't alienate them somehow. So that has to be approached with kid gloves, and it has to be done just right. What just right is, I'm not too sure of, but I'll get there eventually, and I might fail, but I'll give it a whack pretty quick, yeah.
So in life, we all hit adversity at some time. You know, there's rough times in life. It's never easy going. The 10-year break you had, you know, how did you deal with that pressure that you were under at that time? You know, because I know you a lot of movies you spoke in London about during that time. You did a lot of writing and stuff.
A lot, yeah.
Yeah.
And I still have those scripts. They're good.
Yeah.
And they're good. As always happens, though, you have to have other people realize they're good. And just because I know they're good doesn't mean they are. Or they might be, but it's hard for other people to see it. And so it's, you know, they're still there. I just got to get someone to finance them. I'm not doing it myself anymore. Because the other times when I knew something was good but nobody else thought it was, I would finance it myself and it would work. But I was seriously lacking in funds, so it's somebody else's turn. Yeah. And you can get burned really easily.
So, I mean, you're coming towards the end of, you know, the 10 years. It's an incredible break. But, I mean, you come back with just an unbelievable film with Hacksaw Ridge, which again wins Oscars.
Yeah.
Did that feel good?
Yeah. It was great, you know. And you know what was the best thing about it was that we filmed it was a completely Australian production from top to bottom. The only people, say, in the cast who weren't Aussies were just Andrew Garfield, who was from England, and Vince Vaughn from America. But everybody else in the film was Aussie. All the crew, everything. It was an Australian production. So, and it sort of made a mark in the world, and it just showed that they could make a film as good or better than anyone, you know.
So from the experiences of Braveheart and Apocalypto and Passion of Christ and your directing skills, you know, just going up and up and up, did you find doing that film a lot easier than the others? You know, had you learnt a lot more how to manage time and all that stuff?
You mean Hacksaw?
Yeah.
It wasn't easy because in this time there's less luxury of time and there's less money. So you don't get to procrastinate. You just have to go in for less, cut the cloth to make the suit, even if it's for an undersized person, and just make it work somehow. So it had its own degree of difficulty, but the part of saying action and cut was easier, you know.
So a lot of technology had arisen in that 10 years, obviously the effects and stuff. How did you find, you know, having those tools to use in Hacksaw?
Yeah, and we did use some of that stuff, but by and large, a lot of those battlefield scenarios, that stuff was practical. A lot of it was practical. But they have some very clever special effects and pyrotechnic guys in Australia who, they're really the best.
I mean, just think, can we show a clip of Hacksaw Ridge, just the battle scene?
Hefty. Yeah, I just wanted to explore the space between the man and the bullet, and just have it like hail of steel, you know.
You can see little snippets of similarities to the Braveheart battles, are there? Do you know, like, is that obviously again just?
There's a lot of staccato stuff in there, like with the Braveheart stuff. I kept it real tight and staccato, so that you just kind of got in for the, you know, for the gore shots and stuff of it, and just made it really snappy, and cut frames out. to actually give it some kind of a freak reality. But and that's what we did there too. I mean, it's once you learn a trick, it's like easy to go back to it.
So you win your Oscar on that. I mean, that must feel unbelievable to to come back with that and win that Oscar, the Oscar and be.
It was for editing, which was good. The editor was a great guy from New Zealand called John Gilbert. John Gilbert. My God, I almost forgot his name. Yeah, there he is. They all came. John, good to see you. It's like,
we're running out of time, unfortunately, so I just ask a random question. What was it like filming Expendables 3?
It was a lot of fun, actually, because you go over to Bulgaria, right? Have you ever been to Bulgaria? Right. I called it Bulgaria, and we went over there, and you get to hang with Sly and Arnold and all these, and Dolph Lundgren and all these guys that you've seen over the years and known, and back 2 decades ago, competition used to be pretty stiff, but I think we can all agree it's not as stiff as it used to be. And so, but it was just a hoot to hang with those guys,
So what was it like? There's a lot of egos going on. Are you just a big bunch of friends?
Yeah, I think it wasn't really like that. I was surprised that it was as cool as it was. I think everybody's, kind of mellowed out. They're not too tightly round anymore. You see them in the gym, it's like, hey. You say, I'm getting there. He says, oh yeah, you're there. When give me some advice around that. And then, of course, Arnold, Never, I won't even go there.
Right. Any new projects coming up that you can tell us about?
So many. Yeah, I got a lot
Any
of
exclusives you can give us?
Oh, well, we're gonna do I'm gonna direct the 5th film in the Lethal Weapon series. And Richard Donner, who did the other 4, sadly passed away, and he's a good friend, and he kind of tasked me with carrying the flag home on that one. So I find it'll be an honor for me to do that, and we're trying to keep it. He had gone a fair way into the screenplay, so we've used what was there, and we kept kind of poking at it and working it. I'm pretty happy with it. It's good. I had a lot of fun doing it. So
you were saying in the meet and greet earlier that you've been working on the script and you're really, really happy with it, and you think there's a lot of funny bits, and you're very confident it's going to do big. I think it's going to be huge when it's announced.
It's funny, but it's pretty serious too. It's like it tackles a couple of hard issues. So I'm looking forward to seeing how we do that.
So you in contact with Danny quite regular, like now, or talking about the film and?
Sure, I called him a couple of weeks ago, sent him the script, asked for his approval, asked for his input. Anything you want, anything you need, anything you don't like, anything you like. So it's you got to keep everybody kosher and get in there and make it happen. So yeah, I stay in touch with him, and Donner's wife is one of the producers, but she's a renowned producer, Lauren Schuler. I mean, she's one of the great producers of Hollywood of all time. So she's on board, and it's very important for her and me.
Right, let's just do some quick fire questions.
Oh no, quick fire.
Just a quick one.
Okay.
Right, hot or cold?
Cold. No, hot.
Sweet or savory?
Savory.
Romantic or action?
Action could be romantic.
Favorite color?
I think it's woad.
Favorite food?
Oh man, steak. Yeah.
What's the last bit of music you played? What song was it?
Oh my God, I don't
Just
remember.
like it could have been in the car, or something that you've got on.
I don't know. Oh, you know what it was? I was listening to Beethoven. I don't know why.
William Wallace or Martin Riggs?
Oh yeah. Oh well, they're the same guy.
Your favourite artist?
I love Caravaggio. You know, I think
The,
it's great.
the Beatles or the Rolling Stones?
It's apples and oranges, really. Who's the apple? I think I'd have to say the Beatles, but the Stones are pretty good. I mean,
Your favourite Scottish dish?
like neeps and tatties. Well,
Favourite mover of all time?
I don't have one. I really don't. Yeah. I just like The Godfather, you know. That was great.
Your favourite sport? I know you're into UFC.
Ooh. Well, I love UFC. I do. I actually do love watching it. I mean, except one time I went to a fight and there was a guy, I got to know one of the fighters quite well, Brian Ortega, you know, and I watched him get in the ring with this Volkanovski guy, and he nearly got him like 3 times with these chokes. But this other guy hit so hard. But that was the first time I couldn't watch it, because it's somebody you know getting pounded, you know. So it was like, it was a whole different experience. I was like, is somebody gonna stop this? They're killing that poor guy, you know. But
Right, last question before we start the audience questions. Stallone or Schwarzenegger?
hey, come on,
I'll show this
Sly.
clip.
It's gotta be Sly. Although, I do love Arnold.
Right, so question 1 is from Susan Howie.
Hi, Mel. What movie are you most proud of?
Oh, wow. I think, you know, that's very difficult. I'm proud of all of them. They're like your kids, you know? And I think the ones I directed are the ones I'm proudest of. But putting them in order, I don't know. I mean, I think for different reasons, I love them like you do your children. You know, I like Braveheart. I love Apocalypto and The Passion, you know? But I think they're good films. I mean, maybe that's just me being like, you know. But you can't really have a favorite with that stuff. They're just different. You know?
Good answer, good question. Catriona Toland on table 8, seat 7.
Hi, Mel. I'm so honoured to be in your audience tonight. Braveheart is my ultimate favourite movie. I've watched it 22 times. And when I go back to Ireland tomorrow, I'll probably watch it again. So, apart from William Wallace, who is your favourite Braveheart character and why?
Yeah. That character was pretty good, Stephen, you know, but the amazing thing about O'Hara, he could be in the room, I don't know. Say something. There he is.
Right, so let's go on to question 3. Ashley Bailey.
Hi. What do you think was your best performance?
Boy, my best performance. I think I pretending to be a director. I think it's like my.
James McCall on table 19.
It's Sarah.
Oh, sorry. Hi, Sarah.
No, Hi, Mel.
Hello.
Wow. Okay, so please tell us about the most dangerous event in your film career to date.
The most dangerous event. Well, just thinking of it right now, I just remember there was this horse on Braveheart, and it was that horse that he gets stabbed in the chest, and then he goes up in the air, and then I fell off the back of him, right? And he was one of those horses where you pull on the reins and you dig your heels in, and he does like, you know, he puts one of those things. But this guy never stopped. He kept going all the way. And I wasn't meant to fall off, but I did fall off, and then he was coming right after me. And he's like, this is a big horse. And I could see the horse coming at me, and I think, I'm gonna get squished here. Busted hips and everything else. And it was my stunt guy who was, he was just standing nearby. He wasn't in the shot. But all of a sudden, these arms came in and grabbed me by the scruff of the neck and just yanked me off, and the horse hit the ground hard. So it was like one of those moments where like, and I love that guy.
Liz McIntyre, table 5, where are we?
Given the opportunity, which superhero or villain would you most like to play on the big screen?
Oh, superhero or villain? Oh, God. I'm not big on the superheroes. It's the outfits. I got offered the bat suit like 3 times, And nah, the bat suit, No, and I kept saying, nah, I don't want to put the bat suit on. And then somebody else would do it and get rich and famous. So, I didn't want to do James Bond either, And I got offered that when I was 26. And I thought, that didn't do much for Sean. No, it was, they were, I think they were just phasing Roger out at the time.
Right, Craig Inglis, table 46.
Braveheart had a significant impact on Scotland as a nation. Do you realise how much of an impact you had upon the individuals of this country?
No. I am aware of that, yeah. And I was made aware of it at the time, and I was flabbergasted by it. But, and I'm, like I say, I'm happy if you guys are happy. But I think it's just amazing what a piece of work can help achieve. I know it was going there anyway, but it was probably just the final shove, maybe. Just a piece of work. Just sometimes a painting can change life,
Pal Washer Wilson on table 44.
You've won a chicken dinner.
Hello. Yes. I'm staying. My wife is also camera shy, so I'm seeing it. Hello, Mel. Was there ever a film role you regretted turning down that then ended up becoming a huge hit at the cinema?
Wow. There were so many of those. Wow. It was like all these like really cool things. I remember, my God, Ridley came to see me about the Gladiator movie, and I was like, no, I'm doing this other thing. I did the Patriot movie. So you can't do them all. But I kind of liked the script. I wish I had done it because it turned out really well. And a few others. I mean, a bunch of others. Stuff like they offered me. Rain Man, to do with Tom Cruise, to play the Dustin Hoffman part, and I thought, man, that's pretty interesting, but I ended up not doing it. So there you go. You miss out on some good opportunities, but you can't do them all. Yeah.
Ladies and gents, can we give a massive round of applause for the one and only Mel Gibson?
Wow, thank you. Well, thanks for coming, and for welcoming me so warmly and make me feeling at home. It's been nice to spend this hour with you. Thank you all so much. And God
Once
bless
again,
you.
ladies and gents, let's give Mel a massive round of applause. Hope you all had a good night. Well done.